Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Hometown Cable. Our program, as always, on Sunday is called What's Going On Here? I'm Bob Venn with the mic, and Calvin Castine has the camera. And today we're going to be talking with a person who we were talking last night on our way to Montreal. Probably the best-known personality, face in the North Country for many, many years, and I can't imagine anybody that didn't know this man if he's, at least by sight, if he's 25 years or older at this point. And that is Berdan. And we're not buttering him up. Good morning, Bird.
Thank
you very, very... You know what someone said? The first question you should ask is Bird his real name?
Bird is my real name.
That is your real
Yes.
first name? Is that
It was
right?
my father's name, but instead of making me a junior, they put an L, initial L, for my father's twin brother, my Uncle Larry.
Okay.
So it's Bird L. Berdan. But
Well, you know,
I've
someone
always
said, well, they must have got the name from Berdan, Bird, so that's a nickname. But Bird Berdan, I imagine it's been an asset to you over the years, hasn't it?
for unusual names, yes. Yeah, people remember it.
Well, you're also an unusual bird, too, aren't you?
Yeah, the old weather bird.
Yeah, but let me tell you something. As much as you're talking about the weatherman, I don't remember you for weather mainly. I just remember you as a pleasant personality that was down to earth on TV. And someone that you figure, well, is not a star, but is a nice person. Really, I mean that. So we're here at his residence in Plattsburgh, New York, and tell us a little bit about the Bird Berdan family, your father and so forth. He was a twin, where you're from and so forth.
Yeah, I grew up in New Jersey, about 23 miles west of New York City, out near Paterson, New Jersey, Wayne, Mountain View, and stayed there until the service, till World War II came along. I joined the Marines. Served in the Marines for 3.5 years, in 1942 to 46. But I was one of the lucky ones that never saw action. We were just getting ready to train in Hawaii for the big push into Japan proper, after Iwo Jima and Okinawa.
Right.
And the war ended. They dropped the big bomb.
Yeah. You went in what year? You said
42, yeah.
And you didn't get in any of the battles. You were kind of fortunate.
I was lucky. I went to Pensacola Naval Air Station and did guard duty there for 2 years. I don't know how they juggle these, whether it's alphabetically or what. But
were you right out of high school, or were you at college?
I had worked in Hoboken, New Jersey for about 4 years after I got out of high school. And came from a large family, 5 sisters and 2 brothers. And there are 6 of us still surviving.
Any twins in your family?
No.
No?
None of the kids or anything.
None of the kids,
It's funny. It never popped out. They say it
does, yes.
somewhere.
Yes, Calvin's mother is a twin.
Yeah.
And, yes, you really, every other generation, they say, or something,
Yeah,
Were you
strange.
scared for a while? Was your wife scared? You're going to be have twins?
I think so. It ran in the family.
Okay, so you got out of the service in 46?
Yeah.
That's when I went in.
Oh.
So we can judge our ages right there nearly. So then what happened to you when you come out of the service?
46. Stayed in New Jersey for a couple of months with my older sister, and then came north as far as Schenectady. I had an old Navy buddy who was working at WRGB, the old TV station, one of the oldest in the country. And my wife, it wasn't my wife at the time, was working there. It was right after the war. A lot of gals had jobs because the men were in the service. My wife started in radio at WGY, and then she moved over to television, WRGB. She was an audio operator there, so we met, and that was it.
Do you remember later on when, of course, when they had the what was it,
RGB?
RGB,
Yeah.
they said we couldn't get it up here, and they used to get it at Ting's Tavern in Denimora.
Denimora.
And they said he can't get it, but they used to get it. A lot of went to Ting's Tavern,
Yeah.
and that's where they got Channel 6.
And
Well, what made you think you were going to go in radio or TV? Was that an ambition of yours?
Yeah, I was always bent that way. It was mostly theater, but theater is a tough nut to crack, especially around New York City, It is the hub. And I joined Actors Equity and went to summer stock one summer, but then I settled for a radio school and got my first job here in Plattsburgh, New York.
So this is after you got to Schenectady.
Yeah.
You went through that? Yeah. So you came up here to apply for a job?
Yes. Well, my wife was from Plattsburgh.
Oh, she was? What was her maiden name?
Martin. Remember Martin's Trucking downtown Plattsburgh? Larry Martin is her father.
I'm not sure.
And he knew George Bissell, and he suggested I write to George Bissell for an announcer position, and I got it.
See, and they say it's all ability. It's not. It's ability once you get there.
A little bit of both.
Well, listen, it's nice to know somebody. You get to the front door. After that, it's who you are, I think.
Right.
But you can't always get an interview, really, and that's great. So, all right. So you married, and over the years, before we get into what about your own family? How many in your family? How many children?
I have three, 2 daughters and a son. The son is the oldest, and he's living out in Texas now, in Plano, Texas, right near Dallas. And he works for the IRS.
Is that,
the Internal Revenue Service.
Is it true that that the parents from the IRS don't have to worry about their taxes?
That's very true. No, a little humor there. No, he doesn't even help us because he's not in that end of things. He's in the collections division out there, where he started out as a revenue agent, they call it. Went up through the ranks, and now he's a bureau chief out there and has a very good position.
Is his name by any chance Bird?
Just Martin.
Just Martin. Martin, named after his mother's family.
My wife's
How nice.
maiden
Yes,
name is
yeah. And what about your daughters? Who are they?
Louise Jolly, married, and lives just a block down the street, and she works for social services here in Clinton County.
Uh-huh.
And my younger daughter, Amy, still lives at home here with us, and works at Howard Johnson's Motor Lodge as the night office manager up there.
Uh-huh. And you've been retired how long?
Boy, it's going to be 10 years this fall.
Enjoying it?
It's from 85 to 95. Yes. Yes.
You get recognized a lot on the street?
Still do.
Still do, huh?
It's either the voice or the face. I don't know.
I was... yeah, well, listen, it's so many years. Well, we're going to get into that just a second. We'll take a very short break. We're at the very pleasant home this morning on a little cooler morning, too, in Plattsburgh, New York. Berdan and Mr. and Mrs. Berdan. She was a Martin. We were just mentioning off camera, of course, the wife's name is Martin, which is also a bird, and so his son is Martin Berdan. And her first name, you said, is Dorothy?
Dorothy.
And has she worked out after you moved to Plattsburgh? Did she work outside the home?
A little bit. Being an audio engineer, she got a job at WEAV at the transmitter site. See?
Uh-huh.
And we had our first son in 1948, so it was a little problem there getting babysitters and things. But she worked about 3 days a week at the transmitter site. The old one down on Route 9 where there's a church there now, just south of the city limits.
I'm trying to think of where that was. Was that just south of the city limits? I keep thinking of the one out in the flats.
Oh, that's the latest one.
That's the latest one, huh?
3 towers, way down by Sable Point there.
Yep.
But this one was just below Lincoln Mercury there on Route 9.
Okay. Well, now you said Mr. Bissell, right? Was the George Bissell.
Mm-hmm.
And it was called WMFF?
MFF was the old...
This man saves things, too. Look at this, see? WMFF. And was it a big station then?
It was, well, it kept growing. It was 250 watts. Then it went to 1,000 watts when they got their 3 big towers.
Uh-huh. What did you do when you first got there?
Announcing, did disc jockey work, and I had a split shift. I'd go in the morning for 2 or 3 hours, and then come home and go back around noontime when it was busy. You remember Martin Mannix Sr.?
Oh, yes.
Well, I worked with him, and Chet Bosworth, and oh boy, all the country western entertainers would come in, Red Monette and Smiley Willette, and all the old-time country western stars, Betty and the Ramblers.
Martin Mannix, the uncontroversial Martin Mannix. and would never say anything that was controversial at all, ever, except at Mayor Turrell. Remember the old... I don't know if anybody didn't hear the 12:30 news at that time, every noon. That was the talk of the town. That was your newspaper,
That's right.
So you had a split shift. That's tough, split shifts.
Yeah, it was, but I got off that eventually. And, radio was fun. But television was even more fun. Yeah,
well, I imagine. I was thinking, we were talking about that. When you're, there's 3 really mediums, right? The papers, when you read it, and I think you forget it. It's a one-day-old paper. You listen to radio and you hear, but TV, you got a combination of all of them. You do some reading, you see the person, and you also hear. And there's something more of a memory to it, I think, of TV. So, how many hours were you working a week? Were you working 40 hours?
Yeah, 40 plus 8. You had to get the 8 hours overtime to make ends meet. You didn't make much money in those.
Where did you prepare? Did you prepare at home at all?
Radio school.
Right? No, I don't mean that, but I mean for the daily show. You have to. You don't just walk in like we are today and spontaneous.
Yeah, it was ad-lib. You had scripts. You had your news machine
Uh-huh.
going for any bulletins that came in. You gave those, and you spun records. But we didn't spin the records right there in the studio. They did them at the transmitter.
Oh.
And we had a system of buzzers where you'd buzz once. If you wanted the music faded under, then you'd do your commercial or your announcement, whatever. And then give them 2 more signals, and they'd bring the music back up.
Were any of them recorded? Did you have any recording commercials?
Not in those days.
So you say the same thing every day? You could say it?
It was tough. They had these huge discs, They could cut discs.
Uh-huh.
But it was tricky. They didn't use too many of them.
Did you write your own commercials?
No.
No,
there was a commercial writer. Al Corsi, an old-timer.
That was the only radio station in the county.
Right, then. Mm-hmm.
And was there anybody else coming across from Vermont? Well, Burlington probably had a station for competition. I don't know what St. Albans, but over the years. And how long were you at WMFF?
It changed over to WEAV about 2 years, about 1950.
Uh-huh.
So I was there 4 years.
And you did the news mainly? Did you do any sports? Did you do...
Mark Mannix did most of it. We did little newscasts or headlines to fill in here and there.
Did you think you had the world by the tail? You say, you got it made? Huh? Not at that time?
Never thought about it that way, no.
All right. So, we didn't even have a TV station at that time, did we, in 48?
Till 54.
54 is when it started? Okay. And were you right there when it started? You were?
I left Weave for a while, went to Waterbury, Vermont. Then I came back to Wiry, Joel Shire's station. He was a former Weave employee, too, a sales manager.
Uh-huh.
And he got the local corporation started here with businessmen and lawyers and started Great Northern Television.
Yep, he was a politician, too, in town?
No.
Joe? That wasn't him? That was I?
Oh, that's his brother, Aaron.
Okay, it was Aaron.
Shire.
Beg your pardon.
Yeah,
Yes.
That's who you're thinking of.
All right. So, you knew before the station started you were in line for the job, did you?
Yeah, because Wiry was the parent station, sort of. That's why the first call letters were WIRI TV. I've got that here somewhere, too. Yeah.
All right. Well, before we leave WMFF, I'm going to let him hold the mic. You're not.
Okay.
In the book here, I'll let you just get a picture we should have here of George F. Bissell. I think we ought to...
He was a radio pioneer. Started over in Tupper Lake, and his son is still here in town, George Jr. And but I think the AM part of radio has gone now. It's just FM.
Uh-huh. And there's Junior. There's Junior is right there, too, right down below here.
I used to see him come into the studio and just peek over the glass window. We'd see his...
Well, of course, you got to make up to the children. If you're good to the children, the parents like you. And I don't think you ever did any makeup on that, though. You were, and then Brandon Bissell. It was a big, and it still is into the Bissell family.
Is there a Berdan picture there?
No, you weren't in that book, are you?
Before I started. Yeah,
nice. They didn't have one while you were there. A new book.
No.
When you had pictures. Do you have any pictures that what you looked like then, or? Back at that time?
Sure.
You have?
When we first started television? Or?
Well, at radio?
No, I don't.
You don't have? Okay.
No.
All right, well, then WRRI, let's say that's right here.
Well, that's
look.
Big, coverage.
20,000 watts, 1955's on that. Yeah. Look at this. And the 1954 data. And it was a new thing.
Oh, yes, up here.
And let me ask you really a sad question. There are no recordings available of those early years. No, there was no videotapes. And there's no copies of that on tape anywhere or anything, huh?
Very few.
Yeah,
Very few.
they put it on. Did they put it on film at all?
When television went on, yeah, we did a news film, but it took 4, 5, 6 hours to
Yeah.
develop the stuff.
Yeah.
So nothing was immediate
Yeah.
like it is nowadays, with videotape.
Yeah.
Wow,
Did they record anything on an audio tape of some of the things you were saying on TV, just so that there'd be some
When we
record?
first went on, we didn't have it, but about maybe 3 years later, maybe in '58 or so, we got the reel-to-reel audio, so we could record station breaks. Maybe up until that time, we had to be there. You had to do every station break live.
Yeah. Things were different in TV then because it was live and never a mistake.
Never a mistake.
Is that true?
Plenty of 'em.
Did you have to train not to put your hand to your mouth when you make a mistake or
Yeah,
something?
took a while. You just fluff and keep on going.
But I think you can make, the hometown cable, we don't edit this at all, whatever is here is here. But mistakes come in, and of course we're not in this big commercial thing here, but just meeting some fine people and the little tours on this program that we do. We'll take another short break. We're talking with Berdan, and yes, his name is really Bird, so is his dad's. Okay, on the screen is what is this on the screen?
This was our first newspaper ad, I guess. December 9th, 1954 is when we went on. And we carried programs like Liberace. Never heard of it. Duffy's Tavern, remember that?
Oh, yes.
And Mr. and Mrs. North. And Janet Dean, registered nurse. And, lots of them. Flash Gordon, Tim McCoy, Colonel Tim McCoy.
The Gabby Hayes Show. I didn't know he had a show separate. Yep. The Bar 5 gang.
Oh, yeah, that was Chet Bosworth's local kids show.
Now, Chet worked with you on the radio, then you went to TV together, huh?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
On Bar 5 Ranch Time.
He was on it. Yeah, he was on it. He,
Bar 5 Ranch Time.
yep. You were what, 3 or
8 years old.
8 years old he was on, yeah?
You remember it?
1955, yeah. I even sang.
Oh.
You sang. Well, when would they like to have a copy of that today, huh?
They had hay bales, and the kids would sit on the hay bales, and they'd give them rosebud milk and Bouillé cupcakes and things like that. Yeah.
It's great. We had local people. People like to, See, we were married in 1953 on Easter. So by the time we had a television, we got married. We bought a new Emerson from Red Jubert up in Scioto, and we had that TV. People didn't have many TVs. They'd come to the house when there's a fight or something, you remember? And then, of course, when a year later, we started to get the local station, which was nice, and black and white.
Right.
Remember, there was no color.
For a long time.
The only color, the nearest color we had around here, I think, was Channel 8 from Mount Washington later on. And that was hard to pick up, yes. And we used to say, can we get Channel 8 on this program, So okay.
He was the first weatherman. Bill Knight, he was a meteorologist.
Down here, Bill Knight the first.
And when he left, that's when I took over the weather. Just out of necessity. Somebody had to do it.
What did you know about weather?
Not a thing. We read it off the news wire,
Uh-huh.
And
Was that a nervous time? Were you nervous?
Yeah.
Oh, there, see, you got to admit it. You get nervous, huh?
Sure.
But that didn't last too long, did it? You got used to that, the weatherman. Did you ever make mistakes on the weather?
Certainly.
Well, not you. You read what was in. They made the mistakes.
You know what we had in those days was just an old blackboard. See,
Yes.
it was a
We just told
blackboard
us
with chalk,
Yep.
and you'd make your marks on it and then erase it for the next show.
Uh-huh.
But that was it.
So you became the weatherman in 1955, huh?
Right.
Okay.
And I did news. At first, we were only on the air from about 4 in the afternoon until 11:30 at night, something. So they ran a lot of film shows,
Uh-huh.
And in between, when they were changing the film reels, we would do a live thing in the studio,
Uh-huh.
just to give them time enough to, say, 10 minutes to change the reels.
We're talking about a pioneer here. Let's face it. In the North Country, a pioneer.
And then they would call it encore theater. They'd show the same movie over again an hour and a half later,
Yeah.
with a little break in the middle.
Yeah. A nice mementos here he has, of course. Then here's Hospitality House.
Oh
Now,
boy, the first one.
yep, as I mentioned back there, I remember Berdan, of course, with the weather, like all of us, but I also remember the Hospitality House with his aprons on, and he tried everything. You tried
I was
everything.
the helpful little helper.
You
yeah.
certainly were.
This is Ruth Foote. She was the first hostess on the show, and she was a home ec teacher at Shazy School. And she stayed for just over a year or so.
Uh-huh.
And then we changed hostesses quite often on that.
And there's that Bar 5 Ranch gang right there, see? Now, that's not too long before Calvin got on it. You were in about 56, Calvin?
Maybe Calvin.
55 you were in. Wouldn't it be funny if he's in that picture?
That would be funny. And there's Chet Bosworth in his Western hat.
Yep.
And they had some puppets that were run by Dick Krause at the time.
There isn't a person who doesn't know the voice of Chet Bosworth. And
Yeah,
over the years, he's been...
And Chet is still on.
He's
early
still
in the
on.
morning.
Yeah, he gets there before 6 o'clock, I think, huh? Yeah.
He's the
He
early-
opens, yes. Yes.
And the funny thing, Chet has always worked the early morning shift, and I was always working on the afternoon shift, the evening shift.
Now, you worked together. Were you also friends off?
Oh, yes.
You got together
Yeah.
with your families and
Sure,
so
their
forth?
kids are about the same age as our kids.
Uh-huh. You know what someone told me to ask you? Did you get an announcement on TV about a grandchild being born?
Yes.
Tell me about that. I don't know what he was talking about. What happened?
Well, my daughter was in the hospital, and I had to be there for the 6 o'clock news, and she had the baby around that time. So they phoned the station, and the newsman, I can't think who it was, Neil Drew, I guess, made the announcement over the air.
Okay.
That I was a
And that's where you first heard it.
All right.
I wasn't sure if maybe you were reading and they put it in your text that you're going to read, and you say, "My God!" No, but that's what you got it. You heard it over the air
Right.
first, right there. Yes. All right. So there's the puppets. Of course, it was tough to make shows then, and here are some of the various shows. You got your Polaroid you
Some
talk
of these
about.
are small pictures, maybe they won't
Uh-huh.
show so well.
Okay, well, just to get an idea. But they did keep a good scrapbook. This is great. This is great. Now, here's Berdan here with the hat on. Look. See up here? Willing to...
That was the Weatherbird. Yeah.
Oh, that was your Weatherbird hat.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I used a different hat each night, trying to signify the weather for the next day. A straw hat would be nice sunny day. And a rain hat, of course, we've got a rain the next day, an umbrella.
Yep.
The Weatherbird.
Look at here, Dick Ford,
Dick Ford.
Al another name, Al
Cahill.
Cahill.
He
You
was
worked
here
with him for so
many-
many years,
yeah.
huh? We've lost Al Cahill. Is it Al Hill or Cahill that passed away?
Al Hill.
Al Hill did. You get those two mixed up. Yep, they were. And these were some of the advertising that. And this is out of TV Guide right here.
Yeah.
These pages.
Maybe we'll go to some of these. I got some larger pictures.
Uh
The
huh.
rest of this is full of
Little things like that. You ever go through this? You ever go through this? Just sit and go through it? Huh?
Once in a while.
With somebody else or by yourself?
Well,
Do people come and you go over it just...
if they're not bored to death.
Oh, come on. People would... No, you say that because you were there, but, many people weren't, They remember seeing you, and you were... Look.
That was the hand mixer. I was always the whipped cream mixer upper, and then I got to taste every recipe. Boy, some of those were yummy. That's the kitchen set.
Yeah.
In the old studios up on Cornelia Street,
Yes, the Cornelia... Where was that? Tell us.
357 Cornelia, right next to Dairy Queen.
Where the dollhouse is today.
Yeah,
The
right
dollhouse
in
is
that
house
building.
there.
Yeah.
Right at that light next to the Dairy Queen and on the south side, on the corner. And you were there, I guess, from the beginning, huh?
Yeah,
For many years?
1954 till 77 we moved into the new studios.
What years?
77.
77, and of course McMartin's Motors were right next door.
Right,
Huh? Yeah. Hope you got their advertising.
we did.
Good. Of course, McMartin's sponsored a basketball team back then, and used to play in the Northern League up in Rouse's Point and
And
so forth.
Rosebud Creamery.
And Rosebud Creamery was a
Across
big
the
advertising.
Here's Grace Reese. She was, I think, the second hostess on Hospitality House.
Now, if you remember this, folks, and you can remember some of these shows, you're dating yourself. See that? Look at that Clinton County Fair picture in the background. Wouldn't we like to have one of those today? See that?
The fair?
The fair,
poster,
the poster back there.
That's right. They were big.
Okay.
this old studio, you can't see it here, but up there were a lot of water pipes and heat pipes and electric pipes up around the top near the ceiling. The little mice used to crawl along.
Oh, you'd hear
And
them?
some of these hostesses got a little bit squeamish, you know.
Were they using 2 cameras then, or just one?
Yeah, two.
2, huh?
Yeah.
And this was live.
This
It
was
live. Yes.
Live.
Yep.
And there's another one of Grace Reese. She and her husband, we just attended their 55th wedding anniversary a few weeks ago. So they live in Florida, but they come to the North Country every
Uh-huh.
summer. And IGA was the sponsor.
And how long were you with you remember about how long with the hospitality house?
Oh, 3 or 4 years, I think. And then it was changed to For You, Madame. Or
Whose idea was the hospitality house? You remember?
originally, there was a husband and wife team that came to the station from Arizona, and they had experience in television, you know.
Uh-huh.
So they sort of lined things up, a cooking and talk show, and the children's show, and the news, and they were crackerjack people, had a lot of ideas.
All right, you see, this picture we're seeing, the person who took this picture, or this kind of picture, is standing right here. This is where you are with, you're talking about your movies the same way. There's somebody that close to you taking these pictures, and now there's another camera taking this one still, but that's when it takes place. Just a little tiny set with all the lights. The lights were warm, weren't they, that time?
Yes.
Very hot, huh?
Very hot.
Did you have to use makeup?
When we first started, we did.
You
know.
broke away from that. You don't use
Right,
makeup
you don't
anymore?
use makeup
No makeup.
anymore.
I didn't wear any this morning, and I don't want you to look better than me.
No, everything was live.
Yep.
And I think this young cameraman became a school teacher, too, and he's still in the
You remember his name?
Bob Bergevin.
Okay.
Yes, I think he's still teaching. So, there you see some of those pipes.
Yes,
around
yeah.
it.
You see the pipes up in the back. See,
Where the little mice
Yep.
used to.
we were up in the pipes like that last night, up in the farm, taking the roller hockey pipes like that. We were right up in the top last night. We'll take another short break and come right back. Berdan is our host this morning, and we're very pleased to be able to talk with Bird. We hope that you remember him, and when you see him on the street, it's always nice to be remembered, and I'm sure that when you see him, you do say hello. Be right back. Tell us what we have on the screen? That little clip you talked about in front of the camera. He already has it frozen, so you can hold this anywhere you want.
They put a wooden bar across the front of the camera with clips, and then we could hang. We used the printer paper, to write our own idiot sheets up.
Idiot sheet. That's what they called it. Yes.
Which became teleprompters in later years.
Right. Now we were talking off camera a little bit there that none of this was prepared. Really, this was a. Would you run out of time?
Ad-lib show.
Ad-lib show.
The first show Ruth Foote and I did, we ran out of... Well, we had extra time at the end of the show. So what did we do? We washed dishes in the sink there. She washed and I dried, and we chatted until...
And someone's going like this,
right.
keep going, huh?
Right, stretch.
And, of course, were you ever speechless?
Yes.
Yes?
After... we were on the air when John F. Kennedy was shot. We were a young gal here from the Home Economics Clinton County Extension. We were doing turkey stuffing. Remember, it was November of '63?
Yes.
Well, they cut in from the announce booth with this announcement that John F. Kennedy had been shot in Texas. There was only 1 or 2 lines, and that was the first bulletin. And back to our live show. We're making turkey stuffing out there. So we looked at each other, and swallowed heavily, gulp, what do you do now, coach, So the show went on. So we were on maybe 5 or 6 more minutes. I cut in with another bulletin, how serious it was, and about Jackie Kennedy's bloody pink dress, and horrible.
Yes.
The horrible, horrible time. Well, then they came back to us again. So we finished the program. I don't know how we did it, but we did. And 2 o'clock, the networks took over, and they were networks for 4 solid days on the JFK thing in '63. Went through all those things in Dallas. My son lives in Dallas now, so we went there a few years back to the Texas Book depository, they call it,
Uh-huh.
and they made a museum out of
Uh-huh.
it. But you can look out that window and just see down.
Oh, the
where it
building
all
is our museum? The
Yes,
building is?
yes.
And they got the flowers down in
Right.
Delia
on the
Plaza.
Dealey Plaza, yes. Oh, it's so... And they had a news machine of the bulletins coming through, the thing that actually happened to us on the air live.
Yeah, well, you can
It's
understand
unforgettable.
a thing like that. I can understand that. That's just a thing that don't happen very often. But what about when you're just talking and see, we can take a break and say, well, I don't. What am I going to say right now? We can take a break, but you can't do that when you're live. You got to keep going. You've got right? Or take another commercial maybe. Did you have to read the commercials too?
Yes.
So you couldn't even do something while someone else was reading the commercial.
And you know, the old beer commercials, we did, but you never could drink it. You could raise the glass to your lips, and that was the end of the commercial. You
Yep.
could never drink beer on the air. One time, what story was I going to say? My first commercial was for a condo pharmacy over on Montcalm Avenue, and they were selling Chanel number 5. Well, in my commercial it came out Channel number 5, which was a natural because we were
Yes,
Channel
yes,
5.
yes.
That was one of my first goofs.
Did you remember any others like that you might have where you say the wrong thing?
Oh boy,
The mispronunciation.
I didn't say it. Oh, a lot of those.
A lot of those.
But one other time, we had a chocolate squirt thing, those pressurized things. Well, the guys fixed it up. They switched cans on me or something, and we were live. So I was putting some of the syrup on a sundae, and it came up, that type.
Yeah.
Oh, that broke me up. I had to walk right off the set.
What do the owners say when something like this happens? They go along with it. Listen,
Yeah.
we were in infancy there and so forth. You see, yeah, I remember some of the hats. Now here is the Birdman with his hat.
Boy, I had a collection of hats
How long did you do the weather?
for 30 years.
30 years.
Yeah, the first year was that meteorologist, Bill Knight.
Well, now I'm going to ask you a question. Someone's going to ask me. Did you like it here that much, or weren't you good enough to go someplace else? Which is it?
Well, I sort of put roots down here.
You sure did. You sure did, and we're glad you did too. They come and go, and we always had some very friendly and smiling weatherman at Channel 5 here. It seems, and it's the same today with Tom Mesner.
Right.
They have over the years, and Gib Brown, on, and who were some of the who succeeded you, by the way, 8 or 10 years ago?
Shane something was it?
Shane Hollett, yeah.
Ah,
But he didn't stay very long either.
uh-huh.
And then we had a series of them after
Uh-huh.
that. I can't.
No one is longer than you. So you were with the station for 30 years?
Yeah, 31 years.
31 years. Missed many days? Did
Not
you?
really,
Not many,
no.
huh?
I was lucky. Good health too.
Have-
I could usually throw a cold off.
Uh-huh.
Although one got to me, I had to go to a doctor and get some antibiotics. I maybe missed 2 or 3 days.
You had to go to a doctor? That's the most serious?
That's the most serious.
You had to go to a doctor? Wasn't that awful, huh? You enjoyed going to work?
Yes. Oh yeah, that's
Didn't mind going to
that's
work?
part of the bit. No,
Uh-huh.
never.
Isn't it nice to have a job when you like what you're doing?
Oh boy,
Huh?
I wish a lot of people could.
Yes, it certainly are. There's some people, they go
It's
to
a
work every
drudge
day.
to some
and
people,
It's
yeah.
It must be terrible.
Yeah.
Must be terrible. Good working conditions. Of
Yes.
course, you're always under the gun, though. When you're alive, and
That's
you know,
right.
you've got to be, it's tough to have to. You ever sneeze on TV?
I think so.
You don't remember?
Remember,
If
yeah.
you forgot, that's good. Wasn't that bad. We'll take another short break here. And Calvin's the one we have. We don't have this on a tripod, and we're not live. You're watching this, and whatever we do, you're going to see. So if we make mistakes, they'll be on here. Thanks for watching Hometown Cable. You were talking about portable cameras. We're off camera. How nice they are today. But you were going to tell me something
Yeah.
on.
In the old station, they had a big garage door that would open. So they'd push the camera right out through the garage and out in the front. Once in a while, we'd do a live thing like that. I remember one time a parade of old-fashioned cars came through. So they came through one at a time, and we would interview them right out in front of the station. That was the extent of, the cable length.
Uh-huh.
As far as you could go. And nowadays, with these small cameras,
Oh yeah, and
you
videotape.
can
Of
go
course,
anywhere.
you had more local programs then than they do today.
Yes.
Huh?
The interview and cooking show was
Yeah.
always a. We had school students on. You remember when Sputnik first went up?
Oh,
And
yeah.
everybody was science bug. Well, the science fairs would come in. One time we were. The whole studio was filled with displays all around, and I was interviewing this one little girl from up Ellenberg or somewhere up that way. Well, her experiment was to electrocute a mouse to give them a shock, and then revive them, you know. So she gave the little shock treatment, and then she held the little mouse in her hand, and you rubbed their stomach somehow, and they come back to life again. It was like a shock treatment. But this one didn't come back. She says, "Oh, I'm afraid we've lost this."
Wouldn't it be something if she's watching our? We go up in Dellenberg, you know. Wouldn't it be great if she were? You don't remember her name? No. Well, we'll protect the innocent, maybe, but maybe she'll remember, or someone else who was there will remember that situation. What year would they think that might have been? Well, that was about 55. No, 57. Sputnik. Okay.
Sputnik, yeah. And science fairs became the thing. You know, all the schools would hold science fairs.
Yeah.
Another thing we did live interviews. We'd have 4-H kids come in and bring their cows, and they'd have accidents on the studio floor.
Yes.
We
Yes.
had a man who wrestled alligators one time, and the floor was so waxed, you know, the poor alligator couldn't get any traction at all. So this guy was wrestling the alligator, but it was quite unfair because the alligator was at a big disadvantage.
No traction. Yes, at all. Yeah. You know, we're talking. You know what we're talking about? We're talking 57. That's nearly 40 years, Bert. You know,
that's right.
it sounds as though I had a son born in 57. Doesn't seem that long. We can remember 57, but still, you know, that's a long time ago. Didn't have air conditioning either, did you? In the studio?
I can't remember. I think
No
slightly.
windows, you know. Do you think you might have had some?
Yeah, we had
cooling?
slight air conditioning.
Those lights are awfully hot, you know,
Right.
getting under, staying under there. And you didn't have any breaks when you were doing the hospitality show, except for the commercial. You could,
Right, go
They-
right through.
yeah. How long ahead did you get your guests, say, for hospitality house?
That was a tricky thing too. We had to do it ourselves, you know. We didn't have a producer as such,
Uh-huh.
like the Regis show, where everything's lined up ahead of time. We had to call people ourselves,
Uh-huh.
and we got a lot of guests from the Air Force Base. You know, a lot of these people had traveled to foreign countries and came back, and we'd use them as guest cooks in the kitchen. Oh, we had recipes from all over the world, from Europe, and
Uh-huh.
from Japan,
And these were your own ideas? You'd get the kind of people you wanted?
And plus you'd scan the local newspaper and see what's going on
yeah.
and try to get people to come in
Yeah.
for interviews.
And you couldn't get out is the thing. See, when you could get out with a camera, not like today, videotaped are
Right.
all over the place,
Much
you know.
better.
Yeah.
Now they do it mostly for news.
Uh-huh. So now when you, the weather over the years, make a lot of mistakes, or you just read somebody else's mistakes? That's what it was, right?
Well, we always used the U.S. Weather Service
Okay.
forecast,
Uh-huh.
so it was their goof, you know.
Did you get blamed?
Sure, of course. We shoveled plenty of partly cloudy. You know?
Yeah, did you
During
get
the
many
winter
calls
months.
when you were right? They don't call. No, they don't.
No, they don't call when
Don't you
right.
wish they did?
I had a picture of the old studio in a blizzard, but I don't know where it is. Well,
We'll
anyway,
get down through it. Let's see your next picture here. What do you have here?
This was Marie Baldwin. She was another hostess on Hospitality House. And then we went to,
Okay.
Hortense Graves was
Uh-huh.
hostess for a while.
You have her?
And Alice Potter. No, I've only got her in that radio
Uh-huh.
picture years ago. This was Grace Reese again. We used to put tags up on the map where we got letters from.
Now there was a
Surprisingly,
Reese
up
that was
through
into
Canada.
into.
The agricultural.
Yes.
That was her husband.
That was her husband.
Merle Reese.
Okay, Merrill Reese.
Yeah, he was here many years.
Okay,
The county agricultural.
and that's Mrs. Reese, and that was again on your part of your show.
Yeah.
And remember, what you see is just that's the studio. The rest of it is all pipes and wires and
Right.
things going
We
around.
used a lot of drapes. You'll notice
Yeah.
in the background too.
Covers a lot. Yep. Yep. And that's not a skirt he's got on there. That's his apron. Don't forget that. You know.
Uh-huh.
Oh yes, you know.
Here's when I worked the hand puppets. Mr. Daffy and H.J. Hot Dog Hound. I started out with one hand, which was Mr. Daffy, which is plenty.
So I used Mr. Daffy's voice way up here, you know.
Then when Hot Dog Hound came along, I had to use him way down here. So between the two voices, it was fun doing that.
When's the last time you mentioned those two names in conversation, if you think it back?
Quite a while ago.
Is it not the last 2-3 years,
No.
huh?
But one time, we had a little puppet stage, you know, that you'd sit behind just to hold your hands up in the stage. So the wise guys set off a firecracker in back of me, and it scared me. So I must have jumped. I moved enough to push the puppet stage right over. So there we are hanging out with Breeze. A full shot of me and the two hand puppets.
There's a lot of this jockeying going on with your fellow workers when you're doing these things.
Oh, yes.
Did you ever do anything to them?
Goes on. No, I was.
You wouldn't do anything. Oh, no, you were the good guy, huh?
Right. Setting fire to your idiot sheets. And things like that.
You ever on TV at all now? Do you ever get back up much?
Yeah, I do. I tape commercials here and there.
We don't see you though, do we? Well, I did see one. Yes, I did.
Very
But
seldom.
yeah. But it was one I thought that was a couple of years ago, though. I was looking recently. I was telling Calvin I didn't get a chance to review when they had the 40th anniversary of the station, and they showed some of the old. They had little clips, you know.
Right.
Those were very interesting. You know, we just don't realize what we got at the time until later, and we're nostalgic about it. You know, we miss so much. Thinking about tomorrow, we miss today many times. You know, and many of these things. You ever get together with Chet Bosworth now and talk about the old days?
Bump into him once in a while, but yeah, at the anniversary, I think the 30th, the 25th and the 30th, we did special programs on television too.
I was telling Calvin it'd be nice to get several of you people who worked and just sit down and have a roundtable discussion of some of the things and remind each other of some of the. Maybe you'd find out who set the firecracker off.
I know.
You know who did that? You don't want to mention his name or her name?
He's left town.
He's left town, so we'll.
Frank Forget was his name, and he was one of the young men.
All right. What are these covers here? Those covers that your wife made?
No. A fan of mine, a good friend of my wife's, was she's in love with the NBC peacocks. See, over the years, she has sent us table mats and TV guide covers and things of that. And what's that? And her name is Ruth Stebner, and she's a retired school teacher from over in the Long Lake area. She lives here in town, but she has made us so many. NBC Peacock thing.
You know, the way today the
They've
TV guide
changed.
has gone, you couldn't put it in those covers anymore.
Yeah.
They're a half-inch thick
They're
now.
pretty
You know, but isn't that nice? Great mementos.
You know, the peacock has changed over the years, too. He doesn't have nearly as many feathers now. He's only got 6 colors now.
I don't have as many feathers as I had either.
Nor I.
No, you either, huh? But and listen, when did you color your hair? It was black before.
Isn't it strange?
Yeah,
It just happened.
part of the makeup for TV. You made it for today.
Here's a
Oh gosh!
Atlantic weatherman.
Now, do you remember that one? Look at here.
For 12 years.
Look at this.
Atlantic weatherman.
Look at this.
Had to wear the hat and the shirt with the Atlantic emblem on it. Atlantic keeps your car on the go. We had a theme song at the beginning and end of every program.
Okay, the weatherman, the Atlantic man, right there. There he is. He's on your screen. About what year was this? Would you say? Any
From
idea?
56 to 68, I think. Yeah, 12 years.
See, he doesn't only have a nice smile; he's got a good memory too. See, he's
This
thinking.
was a network of weathermen all up and down the East Coast, from Maine all the way to Florida, and every year they would send us to a weather conference. You know, we would meet with the National Weather Service people in Washington, in Philadelphia, in Williamsburg, Virginia, Miami, Florida, Fort Lauderdale. It was very nice. Once a year they would send us.
Now, one thing about being live on TV, you can't watch yourself. So you don't see yourself during this time.
You glance at a monitor.
Well, yeah, but it's not the same
No,
thing
it's
because
not.
they see you glancing when you're on TV.
Right.
You're glancing and you're seeing yourself glancing, you know. And you say to yourself, if you got it on tape, you say, "I should have said," or "Why did I do that? I won't do that again," or whatever. And then this was the station in '77. They moved up here.
We moved to the Moffett Road new facilities.
Uh-huh. Did you find that a big improvement as far as you were concerned?
Yes.
Yes.
Beautiful new station.
Did you have an office there as such?
See how bare it looks there?
Yes.
Nowadays they've got, what, 10 or 12 satellite
Yes,
dishes
all around.
It's the latest way to pick up stations, and programs are sent through that way, and they tape a lot of things. Yeah, I was in with the news department. I had a little corner section for the weather and the news and the sports, and it's still that way. But it's a much bigger newsroom.
What was the hardest part about the job at that time? Because you didn't know any better that it could be on tape, and you didn't say, well, because we're live, it's bad. You didn't know anything different.
The hardest part for me was in the later years, about '83, when they went over to computers, you know.
Ah, yeah.
So we had to do a lot of the computer weather.
Yeah.
The guys had to teach me, and I had to write down each little step. Because us old timers aren't not the computer whizzes that these young
The young
people
ones, they don't know it's hard. See?
That's right.
Oh, yes,
They
I
can
know.
just
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah.
Well, we received the weather from what was it called? AccuWeather. So we got our maps and our information that way. So that was a little tough to get used to for me. But once I got on the air with it, see, you have nothing in the background. It's just blue background.
That's what explain that again to us.
And they can put the maps and everything. You can see them on the monitor, but you can't see them.
You can't see it. When your hand's up there, there's nothing there.
That's right.
It's hard for me to visualize that, but...
So you're looking at the monitor all. You got one looking that way and one in front of you.
Yeah, and as you move your hand, you're watching your finger on TV, right? Yeah.
Right.
It's hard for me to understand. I guess we haven't seen it, that's why.
Oh,
And what's difficult is you're used to looking in a mirror, your hand is moving the opposite. Now it's moving the same.
yeah.
That's exactly true. Yes. Okay, well, question, you remember a video guide? Who put this out?
This was a Vermont publication. I don't know who put it out, but it lasted for a dozen years or so. Vermont Video Guide.
Where was Channel 5 as much a Vermont station then as they are today?
It started in the 60s, I would say, yeah.
That's where the market is, I guess, right?
I
That's where they get
that's
a lot of
the
money
reason.
market over there. 'Cause people, get very upset because there's enough local news. They
Right.
start out with the Vermont news, and they mention a local man that's picked up for something, and it turns out he's from Waterbury, Vermont. Not from
Right.
here at all.
Right.
But of course, as I say, you don't see any weather there. You see him with the
That's the old
the beater. See,
set.
yeah. And but you enjoyed that. You could tell you were enjoying it. Or were you just putting on?
Oh,
You really enjoyed it, huh?
of
And you
course.
could taste the food
Whipped
after.
cream? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Then we'd have people from the wine companies that would come in and do it. Hey, that's when we really had fun after the show ended. We got to sample all the different wines.
What I was going to ask you then. I asked you the words. What was the best? The wine after the show.
Yeah, and the food. Oh boy, a lot of good food.
Uh-huh.
And the crew would all descend on the studio as soon as the show
Yeah.
was over.
Did people write to you at all? Were you getting letters during this period of time?
Oh, yes.
Well, not necessarily
All
fan
over
letters,
the
but
place.
making suggestions as to what you might have on and so forth.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, from all over through Vermont and up into Canada and the Tri-Lakes area. Yeah, we covered everything. Remember Dawn Fratangelo? She's still on NBC.
Oh yes.
Well, she was with us several years, an anchor person in the early '80s, and she went to San Diego, and she went to Boston, she went to New York City, and now she's with the NBC network.
And you never had ambitions to. You were just happy here, right?
Yeah,
You were
I
just
was
happy here.
happy here.
It's a good place to be.
It's a tough grind, but if
Oh,
you
yes,
got it, and
yeah.
she had it, boy,
Yeah.
she's top notch.
Yeah. Well,
She
there are
does all
others.
those flood stories from the Mississippi, and she's stationed out of Chicago now.
There are other people who've got on from here.
That's right.
You know,
Jeannie Mose.
Jeannie Mose with
Went to CNN.
CNN. There's
and
another
she's
one
still
from
on.
CNN too. The other lady that
Linda Scherzer.
Scherzer. Yes,
During
she
the
went
Gulf
on.
War, she
Uh-huh.
was over there in
Yeah.
Israel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Very exciting.
You never worked with her at all. She was after
A
you.
little
huh?
bit, yeah.
A little bit?
And in Plattsburgh,
Uh-huh.
at the studio.
Now, when you first started with the TV station, how many people were there in the studio, say, or working for this? 5 or 10?
Yeah. You had your control room bunch and 2 cameramen and an audio person, and Yeah, a dozen, I would say.
And then when you left, you had what, 40 or more?
No, it's still
There weren't that
it's
many?
still very minimum.
Is that right?
Because you only got your 2 cameramen and your audio person.
Uh-huh.
The rest is all in the control room. That's where the nerve center is. Those guys don't get any credit, but boy, they get their names on the credits. But I mean, from day to day stuff.
Okay,
Those are the guys that make the show.
Okay, hold that thought. We're going to come right back to that. We'll come right back to the nerve center. Nerve center. Tell us about that nerve center. You said.
Center, yeah. Well, that's where they have to control all the audio, all the video. The director calls the shots. What shots he wants, and through the earphones, the cameramen know in the studio what to do. But the on-the-air performers, yes, we go on. When the red light comes on, you're on. But behind the scenes, those are the guys that really do the legwork on everything.
You're like a trained monkey. With that red light, you start talking, right?
That's right.
We just did. Just did it.
Little teeny red light on that.
Yeah.
Of course,
Just
we
flicker
had the big red
Yes,
lights
yes.
on the old.
And you had 2 cameras, right?
Yeah.
And you could tell which camera was live because it had the red light.
Right.
And that's why you see them looking this way, and then they
That's
turn
correct.
this way.
Every now
And once
and
in a while,
then.
they're a little late in doing it. They forget they
Now
aren't
and
watching the red light. Huh?
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you a question now that I didn't prepare you for, all right?
Okay.
Now, you had a lot of fans during this time. Was your wife one of those fans that thought you were a great guy?
Good critic. too,
She was a good critic, too?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, constructive critic?
Yes, constructive criticism. My wife, Dottie. Did I mention her name?
Dottie?
Yeah, she's the one that started in television way back before.
Was she ever
when I
on?
first
Was
got
she ever on live?
Well, at the old hospitality house show, we had to do shows on Christmas, and it's hard to get people to come into us. So we'd take our own, my wife and my kids, and the kids would play the piano, and we'd sing some Christmas
I
songs.
don't remember
and things
seeing
like
any
that.
of. I don't remember seeing any of
Well,
those.
that's going way back.
Yeah?
When we first went on, yeah.
Uh-huh. Did you ever have her on your hospitality house at all? Did you ever have her on?
No, not on that. But she was a Girl Scout and Boy Scout leader for a while, and we had her on for that with some of her scouts.
Uh-huh.
But my mother-in-law, Mrs. Martin, was a great cook, and she used to come on and make pies, lemon angel pies. You see how
You knew all about those pies, didn't you?
And we had a lot of guest cooks from all
Yeah.
over.
I bet you had Mrs. Martin, your mother-in-law, practice a lot for you before she got on the show,
That's
right?
right. She practiced
And
a
you'd taste them before, huh?
Right. Check them all out.
Ever out making many talks, speeches, guest appearances?
Yeah, for weather shows like with the statistics,
Uh-huh.
the coldest temperature I think in all the 30 years that I kept them was 33 below zero, and that was behind the old studio up on Cornelia Street.
That's where you went out and read it yourself.
Yeah,
Someone didn't phone it
The
in.
first meteorologist set up. You're supposed to
Uh-huh.
have these little louvered stations, so it's protected and yet open.
Yep.
So 33 below zero, because it had a thing that registered the low and the high for the day.
What's the highest you remember?
Highest, I think 101.
I was going to say, because it was
And we just had it
a week ago, yeah, a week ago today.
100
Or
again.
yesterday, rather, yes. That's terrible.
What a stretch.
But you didn't have to work that day, did you, a week ago?
No.
You could go at school if you wanted to, huh? What do you do now
Where was it cool?
for pastime?
I'm a swimmer, so that helps. We go to the Bay Club swimming. Well, I swim almost every afternoon.
Is that right?
My wife goes a couple of times a week.
Uh-huh. Feeling pretty good too,
Good
Bert, are you?
exercise, knock wood,
Your
yeah.
health has been good, huh?
Health has been good.
Been good to you, and you're enjoying your retirement?
Very much.
They say people go by and say they see you out here working on your yard as they go by.
Boy, this drought, I don't have to mow anymore.
I'm with you. I haven't
because
cut
the
my grass.
isn't growing.
A week Friday. I've been cutting it every 4 to
Oh.
5 days. Yes. Haven't had to cut. Where's your driveway here? Is it
Yeah, around
way
this
back
side,
there?
yeah.
Way back. Oh, all right. I said that may be your driveway in front. All right. Tell us some of the. A couple of the pictures you got here.
Here's my best photograph. No, it's a little trick postcard that Steve Herman sent me. He was the sportsman years ago on television, but I loved that one.
Where is Steve Herman now? You
Out
know.
in one of the Dakotas, either north or south. I'm not sure.
you know, in the back, see? 1976.
It's kind of wrinkled. Maybe it doesn't. tell
19
us
years,
too well.
19 years, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah, but it's what it is. You got to get it for what it is, you know.
This is Willard Scott, the weatherman.
Okay, now this prepared for TV again. See, he put a little color in his hair.
Years ago, he was doing these I Love New York commercials over in Saranac Lake. So I went over there and did some things with Willard.
Uh-huh.
He's the same as he is.
Oh yeah, I was watching him this morning. I think no, I wasn't watching him. I was watching someone else this morning. Just so nonchalant, just so. You have to be a friendly person to be a weatherman.
Well, it helps.
I guess,
yeah,
huh?
I think so.
Yeah. They really, most of them are. You know, I see, and they don't. You can't take them too seriously because they're just they're having a good time, which is the way. When I asked you before about going out, I didn't mean just about weather, but did they ask you just to come out and talk about TV at all? Like we're talking about today, with some of the things, not really?
No.
Because, you're just, extemporaneous. You can talk about anything, I guess, if you know anything about it, you know. You can talk just about anything. And it doesn't faze you. Does it faze you to get up in front of people rather than the camera?
Yeah, it does. But if I have something prepared, I'm all right. But ad-libbing, I'm not good.
Let me tell you, anybody that said they just get up and ad-lib are lying to you, or they're doing a poor job. I don't mean sitting talking like this, because we can do this because we're talking about things we know. But a person that gets up and gives a talk or is an MC without preparing, he's a fool.
Yeah.
If you don't prepare. It takes a lot of time.
But some guys are
Oh, yeah, yeah.
sharp at that.
Many of the priests can get up and say something about somebody and have it right in direct order. I marvel at some of them, what they can do, you know.
do too.
I do, really do. All right, what else you got in that little bag here of yours?
Some old TV guides. This one is from 1955. Remember Art Linkletter?
Oh, do we ever?
How popular he was.
What was his most important? What was his highlight of his shows?
Kids say the
Kids
darndest
say the
things, yeah.
darndest things.
Kids
And
say
he
the
used to ask him. He'd say, "What did your mother? Well, did your mother tell you anything not to say on TV?" And they'd say yes. He said, "Tell me what that is." And they'd come up with the darndest things. And he's written a couple books on that too.
Yeah.
Kids say the darndest things.
Very popular.
Yep.
And he had tragedy in his own family.
Yes, he did. He lost
his daughter, or-
he lost a child with drugs, wasn't it?
Yes,
Yes, very much so.
But he's still available.
Oh, now this.
There's Lucy.
Now, this is probably, it's been written on, too bad it's been written on, because that's a very, very collectible cover. I would assume that this cover, TV guides have become very popular for covers with people on them. It can be worth, I mean, I don't know, but maybe $10 to $25, $30 or more on some of these covers of the old TV guides. And look at the difference today.
Thin, huh?
Thin. 15 cents, too, by the way. And 75 or 80 today, you know, that's how much? 99 today. This is 40 years, people. That means that you're talking 6 times plus, right? 6 times plus.
Yeah. Many more advertisements in them.
Yeah.
Too.
Well, I mean, yeah. When you started, you remember what you started at your first year at TV? How much you were making your first year?
Sure.
You want to tell us?
No. It wasn't very much.
It wasn't very much. I started in college in '52 when I got out of college, 4 years, and I started a job with Dun & Bradstreet for $2,400 a year. You know, and it's you just forget. And I still can't think of some of the things I see today. Like last night, we were up in Montreal, and Calvin bought it $2.35 Canadian money for a hot dog.
Oh, come
You know,
on.
that's a lot of money.
At the ballpark?
Yes, yeah. And it probably was a cheap hot dog, but they're good. You know, the ones at the carnival are not the highest quality, but they're good. They're better than the ones you can bring home, I guess, and do.
It's the atmosphere.
Huh?
Parking was cheap too.
Parking was
Yeah.
cheap. You know what do you think it cost to park his car last night to go to the game?
$7.50.
$11 for the parking. Yep. I told him if he wanted to go in, I'd keep driving around the block, but he thought it would take. Okay, here's another. Oh, yes. Now,
Neil Drew and
Look-
Steve Herman.
okay.
Back in what, 70?
You want to hold the mic again for me here? This is 19.
I guess I haven't.
Don't have it on there.
About 78, I would think.
Where's Neil Drew?
He's over in Vermont now. He was in Bloomingdale, New York for many years in Saranac Lake, but he's back over in Vermont, the last
Yep.
I heard.
Now, these were studio pictures.
Yeah.
Those are nice. Those are nice, very nice, great what we should have for you is a book to put these in and mount them in your order you want them.
Steve,
Oh yeah.
Steve Herman took over the weather on weekends, you know.
Uh-huh.
They just sort of threw them in there.
And he's in North Dakota now, you say,
Yeah.
or one of the Dakotas, right?
Yeah,
TV.
in sales, yeah.
Yep.
He's a salesman.
Oh, he's a salesman.
Yeah.
Is he from that area, or just?
No.
It's a long way between customers in North or South Dakota. Pretty sparse.
Well, here's that shot
There you go.
on Cornelia Street with the
Yep.
snow.
Look at the snow.
McMartin plowed the snow, but that shows you the height of the snowbanks.
Oh,
there.
now, LaBear's Market is just down this road, right? Down here, and the light is right about where my finger would be here. And it's right, that great big building, and McMartin was off to the left on that. And look at that snow pile. Glad to get in those mornings.
Rough winters, yeah.
And you see on top of the roof, that means no cable. See those antennas up there? Look at this.
I'm running out of things.
Nah, you'd never run out of things.
Oh, Rappin' Bird, yeah. You remember that a few years ago?
No, I never.
Some a disc jockey from a Montreal radio station, was it CKGM or one of those? Ace Bailey composed the song Rappin' Bird, and he did it to rap music.
Huh.
And that was a caricature. Some fellow over in Burlington did that.
Uh-huh. And that was 1985, February.
Just before I retired, yeah.
Uh-huh.
So at my big retirement party, the guy came down from Montreal and he did the Rappin' Bird song.
Uh-huh.
That was a smash hit.
Was it hard for you to decide to retire?
Not really.
I'm to sing that song.
You want to sing that song?
No, I don't.
Okay, well, we're not going to retire. We're just going to take a very short break. But we'll be right back. Bird, the red light's on. That means we got to get going. All right, read some of those lyrics or kind of hum them or do something here.
Rappin' Bird.
Okay, let's hear a little bit
Like
about
this.
that.
What's the weather? What's the word? We all know the word is bird. He's Bird Berdan. He's Bird Berdan. He's your Atlantic weatherman. And then it went on from there. He told the whole story of how the Atlantic. I did that for 12 years.
Yeah. You know, your son out there in Plano, you get a copy of this tape, send it out to him. He's going to be very happy. Was your son, your family impressed with your TV work? Or did they say, oh, yeah, just a job? Huh?
I think so.
They did, yeah.
Yeah.
They got very popular because everybody knew their parents, huh? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, they called my son Birdie, too. That
Did-
was my nickname.
Yeah. Did was there a lot of people at your house as your kids were growing up? Did they have a lot of
Yeah.
classmates and friends over?
Yeah. And the piano there was popular.
Uh-huh.
My son could play the piano. Well, all three kids played the piano,
Uh-huh.
but they didn't keep at it.
You gave an indication way back that you were interested in plays,
Yes,
musicals, and so were you into show business at all while you
Just
were
on the amateur basis.
amateur basis? Yeah,
Yeah.
you were in several.
Started in the service. I was in a little theater group in Pensacola. Did many plays there.
Uh-huh.
And then here in Plattsburgh, yes, 1950 on, I was quite active in a little theater. Did a
Dorothy
lot of
too?
plays.
Your daddy too?
No. But she helped in other ways, behind
Uh-huh.
the scenes.
You travel much now, Bird?
Since we retired,
Yeah.
very lucky to get to Bermuda,
Oh,
Nova Scotia, California, Hawaii, Florida. Yeah, we
just traveling, or do you have relatives or friends out
have
there?
relatives in New Jersey, and then of course my son
Uh-huh.
in Texas. So that's where we get most of the time.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I have a sister just outside of, well, she was in Dallas. I'm very familiar with Plano. I've been to a lot of garage sales
Oh,
in
you
Plano.
know, yeah.
Oh, yes, I know Plano.
Oh, what an area!
And, you've heard of Mark Berry. You remember, he's from up in Rouse's Point. He's,
yeah.
okay. He had a brother that was living in
Oh.
Plano for a while.
Oh,
And my sister now lives just south of Fort Worth, and we get to Texas now and then. And I pick my times to go to Texas, so
I know.
it's
They're
either
having the
yeah.
90s out
Yep.
there.
It's either in early April or Easter time or October. October 5th to the 15th is a great time out there. It highs about 82 or so, and that's a great time to be there. I went in May one time and nearly died. It was just too hot.
Yeah.
It's not for me out there, you know.
But everything's air conditioned.
Yeah.
And their homes are all central air
Yep.
conditioning, you know.
No basements.
No basements.
And it's a whole different way of life. You really got homes out there, huh?
A lot
The
of
homes
brick, a lot of bricks, brick houses
Yep.
out there.
Yep.
Yes, huge houses.
Yep.
You'd wonder how they fill them all.
Yeah. If you had to do anything over TV or anything, what any changes you'd make? Some of the things you did, personality you'd keep the same. That personality you had was a very, very acceptable. But yeah, but you were a very acceptable personality. I think it just came so natural. It looked a lot easier than it really was, huh? At times.
Sometimes you're sweating pretty hard.
Yeah.
You're thinking of questions to ask people. You know.
You find that
or what
that
they're
is
gonna
true.
say.
That's true. Do you ever? You know what Calvin tells me once in a while? He says, I said, I don't remember him answering that. He said, you don't always listen to the answer. Did you always listen to the answers, or were you thinking of the next question?
Well, a little bit.
I do
bit
some of that.
both.
Of course
Yeah,
you do.
You have to listen, and you have to think of what to ask.
Well, and something that somebody else, not just what you want to know, but someone else might want to know, you know. And someone said to me, what are you going to ask Berdan? I said, I don't know. But I said, I'm sure that he'll, I don't, just ask you one question, give you a start, and you're going to go, you know. And just about any topic you can cover, you have covered over the years. I was on Channel 5 once. We had our first bazaar 28 years ago. And I don't remember if it was your show. There was going to be a half-hour show in the morning. Or was there somebody else that had a show and they were going to talk about our bazaar? And someone else was coming for the other 15 minutes. They didn't show up, so I had the whole half hour. A sister, Joe and I, and we were showing our games we were playing. And people in Montreal came down, said they'd seen us on Channel 5. And, of course, how Channel 5 has really gone out now, much stronger than it was then in power.
Oh, yeah. We started out with a 250-foot tower on the top of Terry Mountain. And then in the 60s, they went up 1,000 feet. Big, tall tower, lots of power, yeah.
Yeah, would you like to start over?
Television?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Nowadays,
and know what you know today.
I think I'd be swamped with all the...
Yeah.
It's so
the computers.
technical now.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes.
But the on-the-air stuff, yeah, I could still handle that.
Well, let me ask you, back there, let's say in the early 70s, all right? You were right in the heat then, 60s, right? It must have been hard for you to go downtown or to go anywhere to a restaurant without someone coming up and talking with you?
That's true, yeah. I think that's what my kids would get embarrassed sometimes.
Is that right?
Or if we got up and danced, and I had the kids along, you know, they would sort of shrink.
Well, I think that's the same with any generation. Were you acceptable to people coming up and say, hi, Bird, how are you?
Yeah.
And I watch you on TV or whatever.
It's very flattering.
Of course it is.
But I don't know their names. You know? That's what bothers me.
Well, you don't even know who they are in many cases.
My wife says to me, don't worry about it, because they know you.
And you don't know who they are,
screen,
yes.
But I don't know them.
Yes.
But I'm friendly, I try to be friendly with everyone.
Yeah. Give many autographs? And people ask you for your autograph back then?
In former years.
Yes,
Days.
Kind of a thrill, too?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Well, what about your parents? Did they ever see you on TV? Were they living long enough for that?
They both died when I was
Is that right?
young, yeah.
That's unfortunate, I think, sometimes, because they would have...
But my family all came for my retirement party. That was a surprise. They zinged one in. That's where my wife came in. Dottie handled everything behind the scenes with Carl Leahy, the station manager. And they did a sort of This Is Your Life. You know?
Ah.
And my sisters came out, and my brothers, and it was all surprise. I didn't know they were here.
I hope that's on tape
And
someplace.
they brought, we put that
great.
on tape. And they brought all the hostesses, Grace Reese and Hortense Graves and Jean Schiffler and all the hostesses that are still around the area, Aretha Thompson. And, of course, Jean Schiffler brought me a beautiful chocolate cake, which reminds you of the old days, you know.
When they came out, did they tell you who they were? Did you have to try to remember who they were?
They spoke from
the back? You just like,
yeah.
And did you
Just
know their
like
names? Could you remember their names?
I
yeah.
Most of them, yeah.
Yeah. Where would you have the party? Where was
Up
the
at
party?
Howard Johnson's
Uh-huh.
in Plattsburgh, and they zinged one. And I thought it was just a staff party, you know. I thought my staff was good. But they had my family there and so many. You remember Hank Lytle, the Lytle family?
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
they were there.
Knew of them.
And oh, it was great party. Great surprise.
Who was your MC? Who ran the party?
What's his name now? He was our newsman.
Aha.
Rob Mahalik.
Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah, he was here several years. And he left, and he's over in Vermont with Ben and Jerry's ice cream.
I think I just saw his picture in the paper somewhere.
Did you see
Well, I remember that now because they're in the process now of adding a lot more places, and they've got a new
St. Albans, a new plant.
Yep, a new CEO. They have
Yeah.
a brand new CEO. They're going in different directions. They're going to add more products, things like that. You're going to get more than ice cream. They've really flourished. That company has done very, very well. And we've done very, very well here talking with Berdan. We're going to take a short break, see where we are, and come right back. Thanks for tuning in. And when you see this man in the street, he'd still like to be recognized. Say hi there, Bird. How are you? That's your real name. Just before closing, of course, we've talked off camera a couple times about Smiley Willette and Al up north. Tell us a little bit about what you remember about them.
Oh, good shows. Was it Tilou?
Tilou, yeah.
Oh, what a fiddle player. And stomping his feet, and doing his little dance. Oh, they were great shows.
Still in the area, and another local person, that done well. Well, Bird, we really thank you very much for your time. It's been a pleasure seeing you again, and this time we're going to have something on tape to keep in the other generations. A lot of the young people, of course, that are 15 years old or 17 probably didn't see you on TV, or they don't remember seeing you. They were 5 years old. You didn't have your puppets then, or they would have remembered you even at that age.
A lot of kids grew up remembering me,
I'm sure.
Now, I grew up with you.
And you recognize them all by name. There's some people out there. You got to remember. Why don't you tell the people out there if you don't call them by name, there's a reason.
Right.
You either don't remember many times, or you don't know that you don't even know the name in the first place. No. They recognize you. They think that you know them.
People come down from Montreal too, and when we were in Bermuda years ago, Montrealers were there, recognized me.
Is that right?
What a surprise, in Bermuda. And out in Niagara Falls, people came up to me, and even in Hawaii, because of the Canadian connection,
Yeah.
A lot of people in Montreal watched our station.
What's in store for Berdan the next several years? Anything you're working on special other than enjoying yourself and your family and trips? Huh?
Right. Texas, probably.
Texas.
I think they may be coming here later in the summer, too.
You wouldn't consider moving to Texas, would you?
No.
You won't go to Florida in the winter?
If we can. Sometimes we have friends in Georgia we may go down and see.
But not for the winter or anything
No,
like that? No.
I never have done that.
You like it up here? Okay. We've been very fortunate this morning talking to, and I don't mean to be facetious, a legend, really a legend in the local TV, and a smiling legend. You can see somebody that never smiled, but this man here is known for his great smile and his great warmth. And I don't know. I'm not going to ask his wife if that's really true, because I don't want to embarrass him. But he shows a lot of warmth, and he's been very warm to us here this morning. Bob Venn, Calvin Castine with Hometown Cable. What's going on here is the name of our program, and the familiar smile, and just like he looked 25, 30 years ago, except he's dyed his hair.
Little dye.
What's left of it. We'll see you next Sunday. We'll have something new and different.
Good morning, this is Calvin Castine. We're back at the Champlain Fire Station on this June 28, 1995 for a little senior